All right, there we are, live. We are live. Welcome. Regalwood Rasslin, episode 8 is live. We are currently streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble, and Kick. We are live all over the internets today. Of course, that YouTube channel, the hub of all things. By the way, before we do all of that, I'm your host, the most humble man on the planet, the overlord of the wasteland, the engineer of combat, the big boss with the hot sauce, and the star of this By God show, Richard James Regal. I welcome you all. Thank you for joining me today. We are live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble, Kick. YouTube channel is the hub, as you all know, of all things Regal. It's where everything resides about the past, the present, and maybe some future stuff happening on their channel. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, get on over there. It's Wrestle Radio, WRESTLERADIO 860 on YouTube. Twitch is Regalwood6969. Facebook, of course, Ricky Regal. Rumble and Kick are also Regalwood. Look for this guy right here. You see him, the big in shape bulldog with the championship belt that he worked his entire career for. If you find him, you're in the right By God spot. Welcome to the show. Special guest today. Before I get to him, though, quick little housekeeping thing here. We had advertised Thomas Simpson will be on today to bring some of his personality, let's say, to the show. But Thomas has had something come up. He's not going to be able to make it this week. He will probably try to get on next week. Thomas has a big announcement that he's going to make on the next week's show, and he's also got some what he calls juicy gossip that he wants to get out there to you. So you know that'll be can't miss viewing. That's scheduled to come up next week, probably next Thursday, right here on episode 9 of Regalwood Rasslin. But episode 8, my friend, special guest coming up a little bit later in the show is none other than Father James Mitchell. I've known Jimmy for a lot of years. We met some years back. We'll tell you a little bit about that. He actually managed myself and my partner Mickey, and we had a lot of fun, had a lot of stories. Some we can tell, some we can't. But we'll get into what's going on with Jimmy here in just a few minutes. But a good friend of mine, and I cannot thank him enough for doing this. He is one of the few that's actually stayed in touch with us over the years, and I just appreciate him for what he's done and what he's doing. And we'll talk to Jimmy here in just a couple of minutes. So a little bit of news before we get into the interview. And by the way, Lace will be doing her ringside report a little bit later in the show. Also, she's here with us today as usual. So we'll bring in the lovely and talented Lace a little bit later in the show as well. This week over on the Inside Wrestling Radio page, and I know there's a lot of names to all my stuff because I'm not smart enough to figure out how to get everything under one banner. So right now we have Regalwood Rasslin, which is this show. We have the Inside Wrestling Radio page over on Facebook, and of course the Ricky Regal page. So everything's out there, and hopefully it all links up together eventually at some point. But I wrote a show review on the LFG show that they're doing there on I think it's on A&E on Sundays. I watched that show, so you don't have to. So go over there and read that if you're interested in that type of thing. Take a look at that and read my review of the very first premiere episode of season 3, which I didn't even know they had done a season 2 of the LFG show, and that's available up on the Inside Wrestling Radio page. I also linked it to the Ricky Regal page. If you're interested in that type of thing, I will tell you, just as a matter of fact, I still don't understand the reason for that show. I don't know why. And they try to sell you this idea that, you know, that it's for these contracts, but we all know they're all under contract. So I don't know what these suspension of course there is no, we all know there's no kayfabe in the business anymore, but I just wonder. I don't know what the point of this the show is, because if you get called up, you're only getting called up from LFG to NXT, which I guess is a promotion. It's all TV shows and whatever. This week, one other big news item, of course, you may have seen Ted Turner, the Mr. Moneybags behind the old WCW past. We lost Ted, and Ted was in his, I want to say 80s, not sure, but Ted was up there in passed away this week. So 10 bells to Ted Turner. He was of course there, brought in Bischoff, which then gave birth eventually to the NWO, and of course Jimmy, who my guest today, his group, the Blood Runs Cold gimmick, and maybe we'll get Jimmy to talk a little about the old Blood Runs Cold stuff with Canyon and all that. But that again coming up just in a few minutes here with my friend Jimmy Mitchell. Other thing that kind of caught my eye this week, and before we break for the interview, the only thing that kind of caught my eye other than that was Val Venus is all of a sudden reemerging. We haven't heard from Val Venus. Some of you may have never heard of Val Venus, but we haven't heard from Val Venus in years, since the Attitude days. And apparently he's got online and starting to pick up a fight with MJF. I'm sure this is just a last stab at relevancy. But apparently there's been some arguments online between MJF and Val Venus, and I think even Cody got involved. Cody Rhodes got involved. It's all such a convoluted mess, but it's just odd to see Val Venus' name pop up after better than a decade, maybe more, right? I don't know, but it's interesting to say the least. Had some more news. Maybe we'll get into some more news later in the show, but I don't want to keep my friend Jimmy waiting any longer. I want to get him in here and welcome him to the show. But some other stuff we'll talk about maybe a little bit later in the show. Oh, one last thing before we go to the interview. Dark Side of the Ring's returning. Again, Jimmy was on that show when they did the Canyon episode. Excellent episode, by the way. And but Dark Side of the Ring premieres back July the 7th. At 9 p.m. And I'll tell you, they're going to kick off with a 3-part episode featuring Jeff Jarrett and TNA. 3-parter. Do we need a 3? Maybe we do. We'll ask Jimmy. He worked there. We'll ask him what he thinks. But TNA, a big 3-part arc there. The biggest arc they've given to a story. Will be on the July 7th premiere, and I guess the following 2 weeks will be all Jeff Jarrett all the time. And the other stories they're covering this season are the Big Boss Man, Paul Orndorff, Missy Hyatt, the Renegade, and Zach Gowen and his infamous and the infamous match between Samoa Joe and Necro Butcher. If you haven't seen the Necro Samoa Joe match, they're going to tell you all about that on a future episode of Dark Side of the Ring, which again premieres July the 7th at 9 p.m. on Vice Television. So that's what's coming up. That's kind of a little bit of news, and with that, going to take a literally short break, 30 seconds at most, and we're going to bring in my friend Father James Mitchell. Let me show my proper respect. Father James will be on right after this, right here on Regalwood Rasslin. Stand by. All right, back here on Regalwood Rasslin, episode 8. I like to take breaks because it makes me feel like I'm on TV, right? I don't know why, but it makes me feel like more important than I will ever be. But welcome to all the people who are who are currently watching us again on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Rumble, and Kick. I see some folks in the chat room. Say hello. If you have a question for Father James, go ahead and drop that in. I see Cruiser Lewis is in the chat. I see Wanda Branton, of course, who's always in the chat. Lace is in the chat. She's monitoring the chat rooms as well. And so welcome everybody who's here. I appreciate you. And if you have any questions or any comments to Father James, drop them in there, and we'll see that we can get him to him right here. But without further ado, I want to bring him on in. This is again a friend of mine from years back, and has been around and has done about everything there is to do in this business. And we welcome him, and we greatly appreciate him for doing this today. Welcome to the show, Father James Mitchell. Jimmy.
Hello, Ricky Regal. How you doing?
I'm doing good, my friend. You're looking great, man. How are you feeling? What's going on with you? I hadn't seen you in a while. We talk occasionally, but I haven't seen you in a while. How you been, man?
I'm all right. Just living the dream as usual. Let me ask you something.
Sure.
What I'm looking at here looks all pixelated. Is that what people are seeing on YouTube?
So I think so. Let's.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Yeah, I think the actual feed. We're so little behind the scenes stuff. We're looking at each other in a very small screen. This app I use to bring in guests, but it goes out at higher quality. So I think our feed should look good to the viewing public there. It usually comes out really well when I'm looking at the YouTube feed now, and it looks great. So yeah, everything looks good. But yeah, Jimmy, man, I can't imagine anybody not knowing who you are. But for those who may not been under a rock for the last 30 years, tell everybody about how Father James came into being, the impetus of the character, and where it all kind of stems from.
Hold on, I lost your audio there. You said tell everybody about it. What?
Again, it wouldn't be a show without some technical difficulties. You got me now, Jimmy?
Yeah.
You hear me? Okay. So I guess kind of wanted to get, for those who may not know who you are, I can't believe anybody wouldn't, but for those who may not know, tell everybody about how Father James came to be a thing, how you started, what was your draw into the business, and how kind of like where it all began for Jimmy Mitchell.
Well, I stumbled into wrestling by accident because it was the closest thing to watching the old Adam West Batman show. That's really as a little kid, but what I took away from it when I saw it, and I loved the old Universal monsters. And basically, you turn on the TV and you've got Abu the Butcher and the Sheik running around, and guys in masks and capes and spandex.
Yeah.
And it was sort of a default live comic book because there were no Marvel movies in those days.
Right.
But I was just a big wrestling fan, and not having any insider connection to it. The wrestling business was much more protected way back then.
Yes.
Trying to break into it was just like trying to break into the mafia.
Yeah.
But eventually, through persistence, I lied, conned, and swindled my way into the business, and pretty quickly found myself hooked up with you and Mickey Free on probably my second show that I ever did.
Is that right? So I didn't know it was that early on. I thought you had been around a while because you knew when we met you. You knew some people. I mean, you knew Neil and all those guys with Johnny Z. You knew all those guys when we first met. So I thought you'd been done it longer than when we met you.
Well, no, I was going around trying to, people locally that were wrestlers. I was going out of my way to try to get them to hook me up, and actually one of them did. That was Ralph Hodges.
Yeah.
But the first show I ever did, which was for Bobby Holbrooks, I saw you and Mickey Free there, and immediately I said, okay, you guys were the best act on the card. And I immediately went to schmoozing with you guys that night. I think we hooked up right after. We got hooked up right after that. So
yeah.
And those were fun days.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about this the other night. After I've been in the wrestling business almost 40 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I started, I don't know, late 1989 or 80 or something. And it's now I'm older and jaded and whatnot, but back when, we were chasing the dream and running up and down the road, drinking beers and telling lies. And,
yes.
It was much more exciting. Yeah. And even though we were doing indie shows, we still didn't know our ass from a hole in the ground.
Right.
And it was a learning as you go experience.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was so much more fun. You know, wrestling's a lot more fun being a when you can be a fan rather than being on the inside. Because once you're inside, you're in the machine. Um, it's a business. You know,
Yeah.
and you approach it differently.
Certainly, and it's funny you say that. I've spoken several times on this very show that it was so different that back then to get in. Now anybody can pretty much walk in this wrestling for everyone crowd, and you can get in the ring anywhere you want. I think I saw.
Well,
Yeah.
I remember when I walked into my first dressing room, and then any of the when you and Furman started bringing me around
Furman, who is
to
not here.
yeah, Ricky Regal, Mickey Camp, Mickey
McFree.
Free,
There you go.
whatever whatever outlaw shows you guys were dragging me
Yes.
around.
Yes.
Where the promoter said that you guys had to pay me out of your pocket.
Yes.
But back then, even the outlaw guys, if a stranger walked in, they'd say, "Who trained you?" You
Yes.
know,
Yep.
so
Yes.
you better have the right name to throw out there.
Yeah.
And now, you know, if you've got a few $1,000s, somebody somewhere will take your money.
Yeah.
And it's real easy. You can buy your boots and your tights and everywhere. You remember it was like top. It was real. You had to be on the inside to know where to buy wrestling boots.
Jim,
You
it
know,
is.
go to an
It,
attic and buy them.
it is.
So now it's just so much easier to call yourself a wrestler.
Yeah, it's so funny that you brought that up because I had the exact same conversation with Brody when I had him on. That you literally had to get in because our first match we wore wrestling shoes. I think we told you this story back in the day. We wore wrestling shoes and tights from Walmart with white and black bandanas tied around our legs and thought we were the Rock and Roll Express, right? And all our stuff came off in the match, you know, our bandanas laying in the ring like a sad memory, that type of stuff. But you're right, and people don't understand that now. You literally had to. It was like a secret. It was passed, you know, wrestler to wrestler about the B-Bar A boot shop, which was legendary back in the day. I don't even know if it still exists, but that's the only place you could buy boots and it was just
you had to order a catalog from the mail and wait on it to arrive. It was hand typed
and
on a
drawings.
typewriter. There was no internet. It was just a very different time. And plus, the business back then was kind of definitely shady. It was kind of on the cusp of not exactly being legal in a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways.
So it was just very, very, very close to outsiders. And, you know, not to throw shade on people now, but I mean, back in the day, when you wanted to get trained, they just beat the hell out of you until they figured they could smarten you up.
Yep.
And now the kayfabe is, it's just a different world. And, you know, there's no point in complaining about it because things are exactly the way they're supposed to be. You know, things evolve and they change, and you either grow and evolve with it or you stop. At some point, I got my head out of my ass and decided if I wanted to stick around and do it, I had to start adapting to the sports entertainment sort of thing. So that's if anything has given me longevity, it's that. Just being able to adapt to it. But it's a different world now.
Yeah, much different. I guess you got your you fool around with us on the indies, and of course I've said this, and I'm not ashamed to say it. We enjoyed what we were doing, but we were there. The wrestling was kind of ancillary to the party aspect as far as we were concerned. You know, instead of it being reversed as it should have been. But there was a point in there, and when you actually decided, okay, this is really what I want to do, and you went on to Smoky Mountain. How did you get in up there? I mean, did you just kind of walk up and say, "Hey, I'm here to manage"? How did that work?
I saw that they existed in one of those Bill Apter wrestling magazines, the OKFA books.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what a sheet was. Again, even though I was doing indie wrestling, outlaw wrestling, I didn't have connections and names. Yeah. But I just cobbled together a best of footage of whatever we had, and sent it to Cornette, and I don't know how many months it was. But, back then, my perception of time has changed as I've gotten older. Maybe it was only 3 or 4 months until he got back to me, but it seemed like it was almost a year, and he just called and told me he looked at my stuff, he liked it, he had a spot for me to manage a mummy, and it took off from there. And that was like a completely different world than what we had been doing.
Tell me a little bit about that, though. What was the major differences you saw from what we had been doing? We've kind of fumbling our way around to get into a actual business model.
Well, because first of all, everybody knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
You didn't get a job on Smoky Mountain Wrestling if you didn't know how to work, and you weren't smart, and you didn't look like you belonged on TV. You remember where we were working, half of the guys were really skinny and spandex sagging off of their ass, and the other half were big fat guys with Panama hats and black beards. It was just like there were exactly two kinds of outlaw wrestlers in the Carolinas. And it was like walking into a different universe, landing on a different planet and just learning to adapt. And again, everything I've done basically is just flying by the seat of my pants. And, the old saying, fake it until you make it.
How did you, because when we met you weren't leaning in as heavily to the evil side of the character. It was more of like, I remember you saying it was like a Nicholson, that type of thing. How did you begin to develop that aspect of your character? I mean, was it just something you kind of just fell into, or did you have a certain mold that you modeled that after?
Well, to some degree, Regal, I've been playing variations of the character you see on TV since I was on the playground in kindergarten. You look at a spectrum wheel. Again, as I told you, I was always a monster fan, and with the comic books, I loved the villains. I wanted to read about the Joker and the Green Goblin more than Spider-Man and Batman. So there really weren't any scary, as far as the kind of thing I did, that I was aware of. And I guess, when Cornette threw the mummy at me, that's one of those things where you just got thrown into the deep end of the swimming pool and you better adapt. And, I love the mummy, Boris Karloff, all that stuff. And it was so far, and in fact, and the next thing I did, so far off the reservation from what I thought wrestling was, that I figured I could just go in the opposite direction. If everything is fantasy here, I'll just pretend to be that devilish supervillain that I always wanted to be as a kid. So I did, and then basically that's the thing that worked. So you don't forget what brings you to the dance. When I wanted to be a J.J. Dillon kind of manager or whatnot, the phone wasn't ringing. And then I came up with something that I uniquely did. So that's the box I've put myself into. It's kind of like being Vincent Price or something. I'm the go-to guy with scary monsters, scary content.
Yeah. So you went to WCW after you left Smokey.
Yep.
How? Because that was always our dream, of course. Well, outside of the party stuff, again. But it was always like WCW, because we were from the South, right? And we all grew up on WCW. WWF was around, but we didn't. It wasn't kind of like our thing in the South. And so WCW was always the pinnacle to us. And so when we got word that you had gone to WCW, I was literally blown away, And you went in with the Vandenberg character. First off, how did that even happen? And then there's a specific question I want to ask you after that.
Well, I befriended Canyon when he was trying to break into the business when he moved to Columbia. So, but he went on, and I got him into Smoky Mountain, but he went on and got into WCW and working as a jobber. One thing led to another. The opportunity came up for him to get involved in this Blood Runs Cold thing. Long story short, Dallas Page called me and asked me to make a tape, possibly audition for being a manager for the group. I did it, and in fact, Dallas Page really had me lean into the evil character thing. That's when I really went over the top with it. And we finished the tape. He walked over there at Bischoff's house for about 30 minutes. He came back, and Eric Bischoff walked over to his man cave or basement, whatever you want to call it, where we were sitting, and offered me a job. And that's how it went down. I mean, it was so completely out of left field. And again, jumping up to another, I wasn't ready to be there when I got there, but you know.
Tell me, I've never heard you say that. Tell me why. Why weren't you ready when you got there?
Because I wasn't.
Okay.
I every time I thought I knew everything there was.
Yeah.
You know, when you move up a level. I mean, look, when you go, I don't know shit about sports, but I would assume, you know, if you're really good at playing street ball, and then you go to the NBA, it's a whole different game, you know. And then there's all kinds of different things. I mean, all the political and things that go on. You just have to learn to play the game differently. So, but I mean, I wouldn't have traded. You know, the gimmick was silly, but I wouldn't have traded that for all the tea in China. It was just an and it was the number one TV show on cable.
Yeah.
Nitro was at the time. It was a great time to be alive.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing I wanted to ask you about when you first got there, you always told us the story about what Kevin Sullivan said to you when you got there, and I've never forgotten the way you told that. And please relay it to people who may not be aware of what that meeting with Kevin Sullivan was when you arrived in WCW.
Okay, so I came in using the name Daryl Van Horn, which was the name I had used in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, which had been stolen from Jack Nicholson's character of the Witches of Eastwood.
Yeah.
So it's basically playing the devil.
Yeah.
I think it was the day I went into Bischoff's office to sign my contract. And I was out in the lobby, and Kevin Sullivan walked up to me and he said, "You got to change your name." And I said, "What?" He goes, "You can't use Van Horn." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he goes, "This is straight from the top. No voodoo, no black magic, no hocus pocus, no crazy stuff, no demons, no devils, and no Jack Nicholson." Now do your promo. Yeah, so I had to change my name. No, actually, I'm sorry, hold on. He said that to me right before I filmed my first promo. That's what it was.
Yeah.
We were at the TV taping. Right after I'd signed my deal. I was about to go live with, I think Lee Marshall interviewed us. So I just blurted up, you know, what James Vandenberg, which I stole. It had a van in it. So yeah, the name came on the fly.
That story still pops me to this day, just the way Sullivan went off, because his whole deal was the devil gimmick, right? So I guess he didn't want anybody competing with him for his title as whatever evil guy, I guess. That story always still pops.
Hey, look, we're about 30 minutes in.
Yeah,
and you're still in 1997.
I know. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm just saying.
I know.
For the economy of time, you want to push into the modern age and all this shit we told on.
I know, but it's still funny to me, and we're here to entertain me. That's what this is all about. I do, but no, you're right. I see. This is the level of professionalism that I never reached in wrestling, is knowing time management. Right, I could stay in the '90s forever. So yeah, I appreciate that. Move. Of course, you then went to ECW. and had a good run there. And then of course on into what TNA was TNA after ECW, or how did that? What was your lineage
TNA
after
was
that?
after ECW.
All right, so tell us some good stuff about TNA while you were there.
Again, because I'm trying to get us to the modern era, TNA was really where everything came together for me.
Yeah.
Just the lessons that I learned through Smoky Mountain, WCW, and ECW.
Yeah.
Being around seasoned pros long enough, and getting my footing, because by that point, people always say it takes about 10 years to figure out what you're doing, and that was close to it. And TNA is really where I made my mark. I had a great run there and was in and out of there nonstop for a good 6 or 8 years or something. And that was that.
What is your? I mean, I know the Abyss stuff was huge there. Is that you feel like that was your best run there? Or was there something that sticks out to you more?
No, I mean the run with the New Church with Wolfie and Brian Lee, or slash Wolfie B, whatever you want to call him, and Brian Lee as New Church. That was a great run. That was in the Fairgrounds days, and then obviously the stuff with Abyss later, once we moved to Spike TV and we had a much bigger audience. Now we're at that point, I think we had an audience of about maybe 2 million a week on Spike. And I got to work with Sting and all those people. That was a really strong run. So TNA up to that point was just the best work I've done. And then,
go ahead.
What?
No, go ahead.
No, and then took some time away for a while, and then popped back up in NWA, I think in 2001. No, I mean 2021, I believe. Whatever the NWA 73 anniversary show was. That was 2021. So, and I was there for about 4 years straight. I had a pretty good run there with Judias, Maxie and Phelan, and Gag and Sal, and that was a really fun company to work for. And I just saw that they picked up a TV deal with Comet, so everybody should give that a shot and look at it. I mean, Billy's worked very hard on that promotion, and it was a really great locker room to work in, and a super environment. Maybe I'll go back in there one more time before I'm done. I mean, it's about time for me to hang up the boots or the eyebrows as it is. I'm 60 years old. I can't be taking bumps and stuff. So I would, I'm kind of on the sundown portion of my wrestling career.
Did you so while we're talking about NWA, of course, the big controversy that was there when you were there, of course, and you know what I'm talking about, the big Samhain event, which was an event, I guess, in your honor, right? And of course, during the Samhain thing, the big spot with the cocaine, and that became national news. It became he's ruined the company. How did that come about, and what was the backlash on it? I remember you telling me that Billy actually had a pop for it, but tell us about the whole Samhain thing.
Okay, I'll give you the behind the scenes.
Yes.
We get to the building, and he tells us what he wants us to do. He says, you're going to be the master of ceremonies, and we're going to have 4 or 5, I forget how many it was, women of questionable virtue come out on the stage with you. I want you looking like, you've been drinking and partying in the back, kind of with a Rat Pack, kind of swagger. So I want you to have a bottle of liquor and just get out and say a little something, but make it obvious you're partying a little bit. He said, then the second time you're going to come out, make it real obvious. Maybe make reference to you're doing something in the back, maybe shady. He said, the third time you come up, we're going to have you up in the crow's nest, which was away from the stage, but up VIP seating. And he said, we'll have you guys around a table. He said, and you're all partying and drinking. and we'll have you snort a couple lines off a table. And I looked at it, I said, what? And I said, and obviously, it's not going to be real.
Yeah.
But I said, can you get away with that? And he said, we can get away with anything. It's pay-per-view. It doesn't matter. So he gives me the big bag of, and people think I was high on that. Well, obviously, you've never been high or drunk because you couldn't do that on TV. Look, let me tell you this.
Yeah.
We took a bottle of Jack Daniels and put a sticker. Just like, see the shirt I'm wearing?
Yeah.
People were saying I was drunk on Jack Daniels. No, it was a bottle full of iced tea.
Yeah.
With this sticker covering the Jack Daniels thing, and they poured the liquor out. Yeah. And I said, wait, pour that in some water bottles. I'll take that back to the owner. And they said, no. So we're stone cold sober.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the whole gist was they were supposed to put across the idea that they were going to go to me, and we were too busy partying to interview us, right?
Yeah.
Well, one problem was whatever the headsets were, so the people could tell us when to go and be on set. They weren't working. So we're just waiting, and we're up there in the VIP section waiting, and I keep saying, somebody get over here and let us know when to go. And I'm standing there with the 4 hookers and a guy in a bondage mask. And I went out at what I seemed to be the queue,
Yeah.
And nobody's told people to get out of the way. So there's this table there, and actually the guy at it, I found out later. You ever heard of the radio personality Mancow?
Yes, Mancow, certainly.
He was at that table doing a live something, right? Reporting on the show.
Yeah.
We came bursting through it. I pushed him out of the way, and I dumped that whole bag of powder on the table. And he said, oh my God, it looks like somebody's doing drugs here. He got out of the way. And we go through the whole thing. And I think it's done.
Yeah.
And then suddenly a spotlight comes on. We're getting ready to leave. And then they introduce me. So we have to do the whole thing again.
Yeah.
Now, one thing, I had grabbed a plastic coffee spoon because I'd seen a picture of Ozzy Osbourne from the 70s, like earlier that week on my feed, Facebook or something, where he was snorting cocaine out of a big spoon.
Yeah.
So I said, in wrestling, when you have a gimmick, you want it to be taped up in white and real big so everybody can see it.
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't know what kind of camera angle they had, that they could see the lines on the table. So I said, well, I'll just dig in the bag with this big white spoon so you can see what's happening.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we go through the spot and it's over. And guys, let me tell you, you do not want to snort sweet and low. And Scarface amounts of it.
Oh God!
you will pay the price. Anyhow, so it's all done. Yeah. Nothing happened. Yeah. About 3 days after the show, it was a good house there too. About 3 days after the show, I see a report saying that. It was when the NXT thing came out. I guess I can't remember which came first, but I think it said CW is going to cancel whatever deal it has with Billy Corgan.
Yep.
Because they're all mad. So naturally, I'm thinking I'm going to take the fall for this, and nobody from the office has said anything. I stayed on CW social media.
Yep.
Every day, checked it 1 million times a day. Not one word was said about it. And then, I don't know, the next week or something, NXT got on the CW. So people conflated the two, saying, oh, that spot cost the TV deal.
Yep.
Well, first of all, I can tell you that's bullshit. Yeah. The reality is, when has anyone ever won a bidding war with their company versus a WWE product?
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Doesn't happen, yeah.
Not going to happen. And also, TV deals do not get made in 3 days.
Yeah.
That was in the work. Whatever deal Billy Corgan had was already in place. He already had a deal for the streaming. Now, they may have said, actually, I know they talked to a lot of companies.
Mhm.
You know, there were a lot of people they were in talks with. And at whatever point when WWE came in with NXT, that's when they got it. So anyhow, all of this outrage and pearl clutching
Yes.
came about. You know, and then the clip went viral and got like 1 million hits in 2 days, just on one particular page. And again, I'm looking at for anything from CW,
Yeah.
a statement. Ask yourself this: a major corporation, when somebody fucks up and does something stupid,
Yeah.
what's the first thing they do? They get out in front of it. We have fired this person and we have nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
We are no longer associated with them, blah, blah, blah. There was not one word. First of all, CW wasn't paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was nonsense. And never, basically it turned out some guy, as I understand the story, some guy that either quit or really fired, who's friends with the stooge who started the rumor. I think the guy was trying to create a problem.
Yeah.
Let's throw this out into the ether and maybe CW will catch up on it.
Yeah.
You know, but it was bullshit. And, you know, Billy said that eventually he talked to CW and he said, what's all this stuff about? You know, he thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And, you know, personal backlash, I would say with wrestlers, it was divided about 50-50. Either some of them didn't say anything and then other ones would privately take me to the side and whisper and say, you're my hero. Listen, I can't believe you did that. You're my hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it may have been a poor taste to on a pay-per-view. And again, I don't make any apologies to it. First of all, it wasn't real.
Right.
You know, a year after that, I was up for, I had an audition to play a coke dealer in the HBO series Euphoria. I didn't get it. But do you think I would apologize for that either?
Right.
It's not real.
Right.
And, yeah, you know, Billy could have hung my ass out to dry over that. Yeah. And he didn't. You know, he said that it was his idea, and it was. But, you know, I agreed to do it.
Yeah.
And as long as he was okay with it, I was. So, you know, it was a bunch of to-do about nothing.
Right.
But, it got a lot of eyes on NWA at the time, you know?
Certainly.
So, you know, it's like P.T. Barnum's whole thing. There's no such thing as bad press because there were a lot of people I would see in comments that they weren't aware the NWA even existed.
Yeah.
You know? Now, some of them said, well, good, I'll never watch it. And others were like, hell yeah. This looks like
my kind of place. Yeah, my kind of place.
Yeah.
So that's always been fascinating to me that it did grow such legs and then kind of, like you said, much ado about nothing, because I don't know how anybody would look at that as a television show and like, wait, they're legitimately doing this here now, you know what I mean? So
yeah, okay. If I was really doing it, don't you think the truck would have immediately pulled away from that scene, you know, and done something different, and they would have sent security and cops, you know, to drag me around. And I wouldn't have been back on TV the next week. I would have, you know what I mean? And then Billy would have issued a statement.
Certainly.
Saying, screw him, he's violated our, you know, wellness policy or something. But, you know, it's wrestling fans these days, in a lot of ways, are just insufferable. And, you know, and the funny thing is, too, I was thinking about it, it wasn't real, but I made you hate me for something that wasn't real. Isn't that what a heel is supposed to do?
I mean, precisely. That is precisely the heel's job. That is something special, just to be a part of that. And to bring it back to the 90s, just for a second, do you recall that? And when that cocaine thing happened, it reminded me about our incident that we had the time. I don't know if you remember, we were at a show, and I think it was around Columbia somewhere. We had just shown up. We didn't work. They asked us to work, and we said no. We didn't bring our stuff, whatever. And we got stopped leaving because they put the cops on us, and you had the gimmick powder in your trunk. Remember that story?
Oh yeah, that was when you guys showed up as guest of mine at an Outlaw show.
Yeah, yes.
I think the guy's name was Tony. and he wanted you guys to work
Yep.
or work for free, and you wouldn't do it.
Yep.
And he got mad, and yeah, I'd forgotten about that. We got down the road about 5 minutes.
Yep.
And for you guys listening to this, excuse me, I had a suitcase, not a suitcase, what do you call it? Damn it. What do you call it? Attaché case, whatever.
Yeah.
Briefcase. And it had my wrestling gimmicks in it. And it had, the gimmicked blackjack and gimmicked brass knuckles and powder in it to throw powder in people's eyes.
The salt in the eyes.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And just a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got pulled over.
Yep.
Minding our own damn business. The guy threw us face down on the concrete on the side of, was it I-20? It doesn't matter, the highway.
Yep.
Yelling at us about drugs. And I think did he handcuff us at first or something?
I believe so, yeah.
And you guys were cops at the time, weren't you?
We were,
Yeah. Face down on the concrete, going through all of our shit.
Yeah.
Because the guy got mad, and I guess he was friends with cops in the area, and he was trying to screw with you guys. And of course, nothing happened because we weren't drug users; we were beer drinkers. And I can only imagine we must not have gotten. We didn't get far enough down the road to get to the store.
Yeah.
To buy a case of beer, or they would have busted us for open container.
Absolutely.
It literally was like 3 miles down the road.
We hadn't got out of sight of the building before we had gotten stopped. And I just remember you kept trying to tell the cop that this wrestling, it's gimmick, it's not real, it's for some other purpose. And the guy just standing there looking at us like, you're idiots. And I think they even
wasn't he acting like maybe I was trying to sell fake cocaine?
Yeah, because it was in a big bag, and then they tried to go into this big thing, and you're like, and I remember you just being, it's wrestling, it's all the thing, it's
it's wrestling,
it's wrestling,
it's a work, it's a gimmick.
That was exactly the way he was telling it to the cop, and the guy was just, and I think they actually did the field test on it and all that stuff, and of course it was baby powder. But you couldn't convince those guys, all because we wouldn't work a silly show that maybe had 20 people.
Because you wouldn't work it.
Yeah, right.
That's what it was.
But that's funny to me because I just when that thing came up with the Samhain deal, I was like, and it just immediately took me back to that place, which I thought was just a good bookend to both of those situations.
Yeah.
Jumping back.
So to this day, I am still being falsely accused of drug use.
Absolutely.
Some things never change.
Jimmy, I know we've been going a minute. I want to finish up. I want to get to this thing you did last month in TNA with the Undead Realm storyline. Bring folks up to date on that when you actually return to TNA.
Yeah, I got a call at the end of March, and they asked me if I could come do some spots for, Rosemary was redoing the Undead Realm. And for those of you who don't know, the Undead Realm is sort of Rosemary's alternate universe within TNA programming. And it's sort of like a horror movie within a wrestling show. The rules of engagement are all different. And she's done it on and off over the years, but and I'd been prominently featured in that several years ago. Anyhow, they asked me to come back. They wanted me to do a certain amount of days, and then they said to change the day to build around a special guest. So I didn't know what they were talking about. I got there. It turned out WWE had loaned them Abyss. And they said that the main reason he was there was that they wanted Abyss and I to have our moment that the fans never got.
Yeah.
Because we never got proper send off or whatever, either one of us when we left, And so, yeah, we just, within the context of what Rosemary's ongoing story was, they kind of shoehorned that into the continuity. Yeah. And we got to have a nice moment. And I also, in comic books, they call it retconning, or when you try to go back and
change
explain
history.
things. It
Yep.
didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, like one of the weird things back in the day was when they made this and I had the falling out and start feuding with Sting. 1 week we were, we'd been going for a year or two, unstoppable buddies. The next week, treating him like a redheaded stepchild and yanking him around by his hair on TV. And it just came out of nowhere. And then it turns out that I'm his father. And I remember arguing with him back in the day, kind of thing I wouldn't do now. But at the time, I was saying, this doesn't make sense. Everybody's going to know I was 8 years old. If he's my son, I would have been 8 years old. Everybody's on the internet.
Yeah.
And I said, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I kind of addressed that with a wink and a nod in it, since we're already in a parallel universe in the undead realm.
Sure.
I kind of tried to tie up a lot of loose ends in it. I, kind of did a little nod and a wink to the fact of, waking up one morning in a different timeline or, the Mandela effect or something.
Sure.
Where I became a father at 8 and we hated it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at least tried to shoehorn in some science fiction since we're now in a science fiction environment with the undead realm, you know what I mean? Just to try to bring it together and bring it closer. But it was really nice seeing all those guys and great seeing Abyss, man. I'm so happy and proud for him because he left a lot of blood on the floor.
Yeah.
He left his body all over, pieces of his body all over the place. And, now he's got a great job as a producer up there in WWE, the whole grown-up package with benefits and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it was really great to see him. It was great because I really did feel like we never got our closure on TV one way or another, and it was nice to kind of bring it to a cinematic closing, and it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I'm glad you're able to get
that. A nice ending. I don't feel like what could have been or what, anything that was left. It was a nice spot.
That's awesome. I'm glad you look at it with such fondness. Gonna start winding down here, Jimmy. I think I can't thank you enough for doing this, man. It means the world to me. But before I let you go, I did have one question come up in the chat rooms here. Wanted to know if you ever hear from Tommy Landell. Do you remember Tommy?
Yes. No, I have not heard from him at all.
Yeah, Dion Johnson asked that question. If you had any contact with Tommy.
No, I don't. Maybe it's possible in the last 20 years or something he may have hit me up on Messenger, but no, I haven't seen him. Johnny Z used to give me updates on him here and there. Johnny Z passed away. I guess it was last year. Earlier in the year, maybe. Yeah. But a lot of the buddies are dropping like flies.
Well, you brought up Ralph in the beginning. Do you ever hear from Ralph Hodges?
I interacted with him online briefly a while back, but I don't.
Yeah, Ralph was a talent that was untapped, and it's just sad that he could never get it together. But that's his whole other.
He couldn't decide if he wanted to be a wrestler or a bass player.
Right, exactly. And
I always told him, trust me, you're a lot more marketable as a guy who takes a bump than a bass player.
He was just so good, and it was just hey, and we didn't even get to the story about the infamous match that we had down in Columbia where we about walked away from wrestling. We'll tell that another time. That where had Ralph been there could have possibly been our break, but we ended up with who was the guy? What was the guy's name? The Kung Fu guy?
Slash, not
Slash.
To be confused.
Yeah, Slash. That is a story where I wish we could have gotten to today, but we'll do it again in the future. We'll tell the Slash story. What about broke all our hearts and sent us to the psychiatrist. But Jimmy, again, thank you so much. Tell everybody what you got going on right now and what you got coming up, if anything, and if anybody.
I don't have any wrestling stuff booked at the moment. I guess you can buy my action figure at Figures Toy Company, I believe it's called. Pretty sure that's the name of it. Figures Toy Company. If you enter that in James Metro, you'll find it. And I believe they have them on sale right now. So
Very
you can
nice.
hook those up.
Very nice.
So
For any
that's pretty much it.
so anybody in Florida can catch you though doing your live karaoke show. If anybody's down that way, give that a quick plug.
Well, most of the stuff I do is at private resorts.
I got you.
So
I got you.
you can't get in unless you own a timeshare. Um, I am at a place on Monday nights called Drinking Bar and Restaurant.
What better name?
I am Drinking Bar and Restaurant. And that's in Davenport, Florida. I'm there on Monday nights at 8 p.m. So check it out look it up on Facebook, Google. I don't have the address in front of me right now. But
Well,
that would be a public one you can come see me at.
awesome. Jimmy, again, thank you so much. One really, really quick last thing. Of course, we all know the manager, whatever is becoming a dying art. Where do you see the act of manager in wrestling going, and do you see a future for it?
Not really.
Yeah.
They'll always, the really good ones will hang around. As far as getting a spot, a young guy trying to break in is real hard. Most people look at it as an unnecessary expense. Why are you going to tag team with a manager? Why are you going to pay 3 people instead of 2? I mean, it just, and because the business has changed so much.
Yeah.
Again, I've been kind of lucky to even hang around as long as I have because I created kind of a unique thing with, being the go-to guy for speaking about creepy people in creepy ways.
Yeah.
But I'm not telling anybody not to pursue their dream, but it's very hard and there aren't many places to work and break in,
Yeah.
And who are you going to learn from? Who's out there? But by all means, chase your dreams. People told me I couldn't do it. And then by the time I started trying to be a manager, they were already going extinct.
Yeah. Right.
It's evolving. It was already folding into something else years ago when they started general managers,
You're right.
So, it'll turn into something else, but the old idea, that a guy handles his wrestlers' finances and signs his contracts for him, I'm thinking it's probably obsolete.
Going the way of the dodo. Well, I will tell you that it speaks to your talent, your longevity in the wrestling. It speaks to your talent and your abilities and just your persona. And we learned a lot from you. You learned. We all had a good time back in the day, and thank you for those times. Thank you for those memories. I'll never forget some of those stories. To this day, I'll just be riding around randomly and remember something that we did and just have to pull over from laughing. And anytime we talk, it's always good for a great laugh. So glad that you're still around. Glad you're still doing it, man. And I appreciate you. And I hope to talk to you again soon in the future. We'll do this again if you want.
Yeah, I will. All right. Thank you, my friend. I got to run.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. That is James Mitchell, my friend. I'm so happy he was able to do it with us today. What a talent. What a great guy. And there's just so many things that we could talk about. And I hope we'll have him on again in the future, and we will talk about. But go take a quick break. Going to fill up my cup. All that kind of side stuff. And when we come back, we'll close out the show. We'll have Lace on for her quick update. And then, of course, we can't have a Regalwood Rasslin show without the most ridiculous item of the week. And that'll be coming up. All of that's coming up right here next on Regalwood Rasslin, episode 8. Stand by. All right, back here on the big program, Regalwood Rasslin, episode 8. Thanks to everybody who checked in today. Thanks for everybody who commented. If I didn't see your comment, I can only monitor so many chats here. I have 3 monitors going. I've told you before. So the one I don't get to see most is the Facebook chat, because we have so many things going here. So if you want to participate and I miss you, the best one to be in is, if you can get in it, is the YouTube channel chat. That one's always I monitor it in 2 places actually, because I have it in behind the scenes stuff. But if I missed your comment in Facebook, I apologize. I appreciate it. Scotty Wentz, James Jones, Black Cat Johnson for jumping in, Missy Childers. Thanks for all the folks who was in there and participating. If you can get over to that YouTube channel during the live stream, I'll definitely will see your comments in there. And I see Lace, Cruiser, Wanda, a few others in the YouTube channel. That's Wrestle Radio, WRESTLERADIO, Wrestle Radio 860 on YouTube. Of course, we are live currently on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble, and Kick. Twitch is Regalwood6969. Facebook, of course, Ricky Regal, RIKKI. And Rumble and Kick are, of course, Regalwood, respectively, right here. See this guy? If you see the big bulldog, look at it. He's a good boy. Look at this, a good boy. If you see him, you're in the right, by God, place. How good was that, man? It was also awfully fun to have Jimmy on. He is always good for he's an excellent interviewer, and he just has endless stories, and just happy to see Jimmy doing well and still out there moving around. Even as recently as last month, being involved in a big angle on TNA there is just it's just awesome, and I'm proud of him, proud of his career that he's had, and he has carved out a niche, man. There's nobody like him. There's nobody like him. And back in the day when we used to run the roads, man, it was certainly an adventure. Going to bring in the lovely and talented Lace right now. Let her do her thing. I think she has something she wants to talk about, and then we'll get to the most ridiculous item of the week. But right now, welcome back to the program, the very lovely, the very talented Lace. Wrong channel. There we go. There she is. Hi, Lace. Oh.
Hey, how's it going?
Everything's going. Did you enjoy that?
I did. I think I enjoyed the story of y'all being stopped and handcuffed and stuff probably more than anything, because I could just visually see it.
But the thing about it is again, we had been, and I know we just told it, but just to recap it there, and we had gone to this show, and the guy, we legitimately didn't, and I know the whole thing is where you got to bring your gear everywhere you go, but we didn't go down. We went down to Columbia to visit with Jimmy, because he used to live in Columbia, just a few hour-ish or so away from where we live, and so we went down to visit with him. Well, there just happened to be a show going on, and we got there, and we had got some little bit of a reputation back then, and people were starting to kind of a little bit know who we were, and certainly in this area. And so the guy was like, "Well, I want you to work for me," but he didn't want to cover anything. He didn't want to pay us, and we legitimately didn't have our stuff. And so we were like, "Hey, with respect, we just came to watch. We're going to chill in the crowd." And I guess that just hit the promoter wrong. He didn't appreciate it, and legitimately, because we dipped out early. We were going to get some beer, right? We said we got this drinking time, and so we left, and he put the cops on us. But the whole thing, and I didn't even know Jimmy had his freaking baby powder back there. Like, none of us knew. This is like you throw your stuff in the car and you go. And sure enough, there was like you said, a gimmicked blackjack and things like that, a pair of fake brass knucks, and of course a big white powder bag. The old thing where you throw salt in the face. Well, that was baby powder.
I did that gimmick a bunch and had the bag, and I had handcuffs. I mean, thinking back at all the stuff I carried with me in my car all the time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, it was no, Cruiser. You weren't at that show. This was like I said, Mickey and I had just gone down to visit on a weekend with Jimmy, and you may have been there. I don't remember. In my mind, that was a lot of alcohol ago, and some of the brain cells have certainly been fried. You may have been on a Cruiser. I don't know.
Inhale a beer.
Well, that one of the many things that I'm very proud of in my in my later years. But anyway, let's what you got this week for everybody out in wrestling land.
Well, I got invited to a birthday party on Saturday that was taking place at the EPW, the old APW Boiling Springs of 122 Builders Court. That building, and it shocked me because back when we were doing shows, we did birthday party things, but I didn't know of any place that rents the building and does like a birthday party. They put on, I don't know how much anything is, but it was 2 wrestling matches. JD was 4, so he wasn't really old enough to do a whole lot, but in some of the older kids, I found out, they let them go over on the wrestler, be the title holder. And after the show, I mean, there were 25 children running around in the ring.
Oh, wow.
It was every kid's dream. And the wrestlers were playing with them and tagging them and counting, refereeing for them. So if anybody has kids or grandkids, I recommend to reach out to, I think, Michelle Hall, the owners of EPW, and rent it for a birthday. It was perfect. And to me, what kid wouldn't enjoy that? A private wrestling event.
I hear you, but I just hope they carry a hefty insurance policy. That's the only thing. That's the only comment I'll make about that.
But I mean, it was,
I understand what you're saying.
It was monitored, and I mean, the family was around, but it was a perfect setup, and it wore the kids out. I guarantee you, everyone and kids slept all the way home.
I'm sure they did. So good stuff. So they're renting out their services for birthday parties and things of that nature.
Events or things, not even to do with wrestling, the open building and stuff.
Gotcha.
It's actually, a central location.
Yeah. Good. Well, good.
We might have to have a reunion there sometime.
I would absolutely be up for that. We've kicking around this idea.
May have to rent it for our reunion.
We've been kicking around this idea of doing some sort of get together for all the old folks. So I'm definitely interested in that.
That's why I'm throwing it out there. I did mention it to them and talk to them a little bit.
Outstanding. Lace out there doing the big work for the show out there in public and making these appearances, and I appreciate that. If you have any show that you want to promote or get out here on this big program here, contact either Lace or myself. She's Lacey as always, or Lacey Gwen on Facebook. Of course, I'm Ricky Regal, RIKKIREGAL. DMs are always open on Facebook. Shoot me a message there or email me, rickyregal@gmail, and I'll be glad to get you on here, and you can tell us a little bit about your event or your up and coming talent. And Lace and I were talking earlier in the show, or before the show in production, and we were kind of chatting about having local people on. I want to be sure that
send that invite to them if you want to, come on and talk about what's going on with you and your local talent, or even any of the promoters. Reach out. I mean, that would be great.
Yeah, no, we absolutely, this is an open platform. It's an open forum. You don't have to be a name. You don't have to be, if you're a local guy trying to ply your way. I said back when I had my old radio show back in the WLBG days, I made it a point back then. I was like, look, if I was an upcoming guy and if I was trying to get my name out there, and this is going back some years, so there wasn't a lot of internet stuff back then. I said then, because it was becoming more and more hard to book, interview guests, which it is now for this show. I won't be secretive about that. It's difficult to get, date times lined up and different things. But, if I were that guy, was coming up, I would be aggravating the crap out of me as the radio host to get on every week. Hey man, I need to come on this week. I got a show to promote. What? And this is open
Get
for
your
that.
face out there. Push that show you're going to be on instead of just sending something around on Facebook. You could get on here and talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're on 5 platforms. I mean, we're getting out there. And all told, all together with all the views combined in all the apps. So we're getting upwards of 300 and 400 views to these videos. So, you know, it's getting out there, and we're trying to build it every week. And I appreciate everybody who's helping us push it forward. But if you could just give a like, give a subscribe, or even a comment, helps us get out to the algorithm where people can find us and know more about us. But I said all that to say this. This is an open platform for you, the wrestler, for you, the promoter. We're happy to have you. Just reach out to either one of us, and we'll make sure that we get you on. But with having said that, Lace, you got anything else for this week? Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be coming up? You got any shows coming up you're going to be at?
Yes, I plan on Friday the 15th going to Universal Championship Wrestling for that would be at Anderson Mall, Buff Bagwell, Ricky and Carrie Morton, and I haven't seen Buff in years, you know, so I'm interested to see him since he's been through so much. And then that Saturday night, the 16th, is 3 Count Pro Wrestling at First Calvary Baptist Church. So I'll catch up with some more people there and get to see some people.
Very cool. Well, that's awesome. We're glad you're out there doing it. I appreciate what you're doing because it's helping me tremendously, and I appreciate you getting out there and being able to still attend these big old events.
It ain't as easy as it used to be to get to them.
Yeah, no, I know. Believe me, I know. All right, so thanks again to Lace. I appreciate you as always. We'll see you next week here on the big show. And so she brought up Lace brought up Bagwell, and it's interesting she brought him up because from what I'm hearing, and it may be rumor mill stuff, but I'm hearing that Marcus wants to do one final match. And there's actually this week, and I if you'll bear with me for just a second, I may be able to pull it up here. I'm sorry, I can't. My brain I'm not smart enough to do 2 things at once. So while I'm typing this, just bear with me because I really want you to see these pictures. I should have already had this done, but I'm an idiot, so it is what it is. See if I can find it here. I don't see it. But an image has arisen on the internet, and I do not see it here anywhere.
Buff Bagwell.
But Buff has recently had of course we know that he had to have his leg removed earlier in the year, and has been recovering from that. Of course, he went through a lot of other recovery with Dallas Page, and that's all been documented on Dallas's show. But an image has appeared this week, and I still don't see it out here, of him in the ring with his what are those things? I don't want to say false leg, but that's what it is. Training with Billy Gunn for what he's hoping to be a final match in the ring, and I hope it happens for him. Look, I never had a problem with Bagwell. I know he had some problems. I know he had some attitude problems. But I will tell you this. He came to one of my Christmas shows. I don't remember what year. Consummate professional. He got in the ring. He did everything he was supposed to do. He signed autographs. Didn't give us a moment's problem, and was out there for I think he stayed the entire show. Didn't work an angle with him like we did with Ron Simmons, but we did have him there. He made a big appearance and was consummate professional. I never had a problem with the guy, but like I said, he is I guess training to have one last match, and I hope it works out for him because the guy is for better or for worse, he's a legend, and so I hope it works out for him, and I hope it happens. But yeah, that's about gonna do it for today's program. Of course, it wouldn't be a Regalwood Rasslin episode if we didn't finish up with the most ridiculous item of the week. And I actually have 2. One's video, and one is just a piece of news that I got from my friend Cruiser Lewis the other day. Remember I think it was a week or 2 ago where I had the guys over here in Greenwood where they were shouting and he couldn't tell if it was part of the show or not part of the show. I'm right here, guy, where the guy whipped the chair at the guy and his little girl was standing there. I guess that's CMW. God knows what that means. But CMW, according to Cruiser, has booked another show for that same parking lot on June 20th. So if you want to see chairs thrown at children, and you want to see people screaming randomly and be confused about whether or not they're part of the show, by all means, be in Greenwood on June 20th for another CMW event that I'm sure will be a something to behold. All right. Most ridiculous item of the week video. This is just titled, I Just Witnessed a Murder. I don't know what company this is for. Don't really care. This is difficult to watch. It's not bloody or gory, but it's just one of those things where you're like, why? Why? So with that, I give to you the most ridiculous item of the week. Step out of the way here. Check this out.
Oh my God.
These guys are hanging from a piece of equipment in the building.
Big chop. Back and forth. Oh my God, he said, Travis, kill him. What? Off the ropes. Oh my God! Crusher from the top.
Somebody says Travis kill him, and by God, he tried to. Now, I will give the guy who's hanging doing the swinging, I'll give him the athleticism of getting off of whatever that piece of equipment is that he's hanging from and onto the top rope. Very nice. But that, I guess, DDT or whatever that move was from the top to the landing directly onto his neck. Let's watch it one more time. And as always, now, bear in mind, those announcers are piped in, right? It's that's given in through the audio of the whoever's taping this nonsense. But the crowd, watch, like I always tell you, watch the crowd. Was this bump, right? Was this bump worth the reaction you get from this crowd in front of this quote unquote crowd? Look how many people you got out there. Watch their reaction. And there's, other than the one guy who runs around like he's lost his mind, was the reaction you got worth almost killing yourself and impaling yourself? Watch it again, but watch it with a more regal eye, if you will.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Big chop. Big chop. Back and forth. Oh my God, he said, Travis, kill him. What?
Nice athleticism. I'll give him that. But this.
Oh my God! Crusher from the top! Oh way.
So oh my God! That's just the announcer. That's not your fans. Your fans are sitting there thinking, we just saw. They just blow out. It says right here. Wait, let me get myself back at the screen because that's important. It says right here, I just witnessed a murder. That's what your fans are thinking. This right here. Is it worth it? The guy landed on his head and then twisted his neck. And we don't know what happened after that because that's where the video ends. But that's courtesy of That Guy Wrestling on Facebook. You can follow That Guy Wrestling over on Facebook. That's where this week's clip comes from. Don't know the company, don't know the condition of the guy who fell straight on his head, but that's your most ridiculous item of this week, and I promise you, that is the one. The interviews may go away, the news segments, the Regal's reality, all that stuff may change and twist as we go forward, but the one thing that we can always count on, that'll always be a part of this show, because you're never going to run it out of it in indie wrestling, right, is the most ridiculous items that we find every week, every day, every minute of every day. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate everybody who was a part of it. Again, Thomas had to cancel this week. He's got some big news that's coming next week. He's going to have a major announcement from Thomas Simpson, and he's going to talk about some juicy gossip. He's going to have a little segment. It's not going to be another interview. We hadn't batted around to the top of the lineup yet. We're close, but we hadn't batted around to the top of the lineup yet. It's not an interview. It's just Thomas going to come on, make a quick announcement, and tell you some. I don't even know what the juicy gossip is. He hadn't even told me, so I'm sure that'll be something to behold. So that's next week. Thanks again to the lovely and talented Lace for her assistance and her help, as always, and what she brings to the show. I appreciate it very much. And, of course, thank you to my friend James Mitchell for coming on the program today and sharing some of his stories and his wisdom. I can't thank him enough. And all of my guests who I've had on over the past 8 episodes, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Again, this is a platform for you, the wrestler, you, the promoter, and you, the star. We're here for you, and we will do whatever we can to facilitate having you on the program. I do appreciate it. I appreciate everybody who participated. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Even if it's just a quick comment in the chat, it helps us get out there to other people who may be interested in our particular form of entertainment here on Regalwood Rasslin. Until next time, my friends, next week, probably next Thursday, is what we're shooting for. Hopefully, we're going to have Bob Keller on. I'll go ahead and give you a little sneak announcement there. We haven't got it locked down, but Bobby Keller is slated tentatively for next Thursday, and we'll be back at our regular time of 3:30 in the afternoon. That's all coming up next week. But for now, I hope everybody has a great weekend. And until next time, I'm Regal, and I'll see you down the road.
Goodbye.